Multiple observatories have combined forces to reveal the Tarantula Nebula's turbulent star birth in unprecedented color and detail. This is Fascinating Frontiers, episode 168. A new space transportation policy directs agencies to enable more than 1,000 launches and re-entries annually by 2030. The memorandum focuses on streamlining regulatory processes and expanding ground infrastructure, without specifying funding levels. Industry groups are now assessing how quickly capacity can grow under the stated national priority. On a completely different note, Europe has dropped plans to improve the Ariane 6 rocket's performance and production rate. The decision leaves the vehicle at its current target of roughly 10 flights per year, with no revised roadmap released. Officials have not announced any new steps to raise that cadence despite growing commercial demand. A single Raptor engine fired on the ground to demonstrate the deorbit maneuver planned for future orbital flights. The test confirms the vehicle can perform the burn needed to return from orbit safely, and engineers will review the data before integrating the sequence into upcoming missions. This incremental step moves Starship closer to routine orbital operations and adds one data point to its return profile. Remember, we covered Starship development yesterday, and today's test advances the open question of orbital refueling and rapid reuse cadence without yet addressing crewed timelines. JAXA confirmed an October 20th launch date for its probe to Phobos and Deimos. The spacecraft will collect surface material and return it to Earth, marking the first dedicated attempt to bring back samples from either Martian moon. Scientists hope the material will clarify whether the moons are captured asteroids or fragments of Mars itself. China prepares the Chang'e 7 lander, rover, and hopper for an August 24th launch toward the lunar South Pole. The mission will deploy multiple instruments to search for water ice and study local geology, with a communications relay satellite supporting operations from lunar orbit. Success would mark China's most complex lunar surface campaign to date, and target permanently shadowed regions where ice may persist. This development fits the ongoing Artemis and Moon Arc by testing multi-vehicle operations at the South Pole, where landing site selection and resource questions remain open. Laboratory tests show certain terrestrial organisms survive conditions that mimic permanently shadowed lunar craters. The study suggests microbes could endure in thin films of water ice protected from solar radiation, and researchers note that even small disturbances such as rover tracks might create temporary habitable pockets. Future missions will need to weigh contamination risks against scientific goals. Hubble, Chandra, and Webb data together show the Tarantula Nebula's star-forming region in visible, X-ray, and infrared light at 160,000 light-years away in the Large Magellanic Cloud. The composite highlights stellar winds carving through dense gas and dust, and NASA described the result as a vibrant look at one of the Milky Way's neighboring galaxies. The combined dataset spans wavelengths that single observatories cannot capture alone. Astrobiologists ran fresh simulations that begin with different initial conditions than earlier studies and produced solar system analogs with rocky planets in stable orbits more often than previous attempts. The work indicates our architecture is not an outlier under realistic starting assumptions that incorporate updated disk chemistry and dynamical interactions. Follow-up papers will test the models against observed exoplanet populations. New analysis indicates a single large collision excavated Deimos's prominent south polar crater and left a thick regolith blanket across its surface. The moon's low density and porous interior suggest it behaves like a rubble pile rather than a solid body, helping explain why smaller craters appear buried. The findings imply the moon could reaccrete after major collisions, leaving its surface in a state of slow, ongoing rearrangement. A single 0.3-second exposure captured the August 12th partial solar eclipse, setting behind Pisa's cathedral complex at 94% obscuration. The image places the leaning tower and domes in silhouette against the dimmed solar disk, and such ground-based records complement satellite observations of the event. Engineers have started constructing the Emilia 3D instrument for a future lunar mission to map terrain and subsurface structure using three-dimensional imaging techniques. Data will support landing site selection and resource prospecting near the South Pole, mark on the university's first hardware contribution to a lunar flight mission. The AstroNav instrument is being developed to give spacecraft real-time position fixes without ground tracking by using star and planet observations during lunar and deep space cruises. Jet Propulsion Laboratory leads the project, which remains in the technology demonstration phase and would reduce reliance on Earth-based navigation networks if successful. California startup ELV has completed spaceflight qualification of its 100-watt traveling wave tube amplifier, developed under a U.S. Space Force Small Business Innovation Research contract. The component operates in the millimeter wave band and will support high data rate communications on future small satellites, with additional units now in production. 2 new educational packages feature interviews with heliophysicists Dr. Richard Fisher and Dr. James L. Green, tracing the evolution of solar monitoring and the discovery of space weather effects on technology. Teachers can use the material for units on magnetism and the Sun-Earth connection through NASA's Learning Portal. Elon Musk stated the first attempt to catch a returning Starship upper stage with the launch tower will occur within a few months of late 2026. The maneuver requires precise control of the booster's descent and the tower's mechanical arms, and a successful catch would eliminate the need for landing legs on future vehicles. Remember, we covered Starship development yesterday, and today's timeline revision moves the reusability question forward while the open issue of rapid reuse cadence stays active. China's Chang'e 7 mission will attempt the first landing near the lunar South Pole with a full suite of surface vehicles. A stationary lander will anchor the mission while a rover traverses nearby terrain and a hopper leaps between shadowed craters, deploying instruments to measure water ice signatures and local radiation levels. Success would give China operational experience at one of the most scientifically valuable sites on the Moon and set the stage for longer duration surface operations with a dedicated relay satellite maintaining contact from orbit. Deimos measures only about 12 kilometers across, yet one ancient collision appears to have reset much of its surface. Imagine a city-sized boulder striking a loosely bound rubble pile at several kilometers per second. The shock wave travels through the porous interior, lofting regolith that settles into a blanket thick enough to bury older craters. The same event excavates the prominent South Polar Basin now visible from orbit, and because the Moon's bulk density sits well below that of solid rock, the impact energy dissipates quickly rather than shattering the body completely. Spacecraft imagery already maps the resulting crater and regolith distribution, but we still do not know how many such events a rubble pile satellite can absorb before it disperses or reaccretes into a new shape. The low density also means the Moon's gravity is too weak to hold on to fine material ejected during later small impacts, leaving the surface in a state of slow, ongoing rearrangement. Next time, we'll be watching for further updates on the Starship Tower catch timeline and any new details from the upcoming Japan-Mars-Moon's launch window. That's Fascinating Frontiers for today. If you enjoyed this, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for exploring with me, and I'll see you next time. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NARA Network. Links in the show notes. This show comes to you from the NARA Network. If you want another sharp daily briefing, Environmental Intelligence has you covered. The Environment and Climate Policy Brief for Canada. All our shows are free at naranetwork.com. Live dashboards, TSLA, SpaceX launches, the investing scoreboard are all at naranetwork.com data. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.